Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. It's a beautiful February morning and the light on the landscape is absolutely fantastic. Thank you for joining me once again. I'm hoping to try and make the most of some of this beautiful light and the frost that's on the ground that you can see. But it's warming up quite quickly now and I'm not really sure how much longer this is going to last. So it's a case of trying to make the most of it while I've got the opportunity. So let's go for a wander and see what we can find. This is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to making the most of the light. You can see this tree behind me, and behind that obviously you can see the glare of the sun from just behind it. But further down, about 100 yards behind that, there are some trees just here, and there's a couple of trees just standing out at the front of the scene, which I quite liked. And as I kind of walked down this pathway here, I saw how the light was falling on those and how they were kind of silhouetted against the backdrop of that bright sunshine. But also I noticed that there's a very slight mistiness in the shadows as well, so you get this really ethereal effect of the trees themselves being backlit by the sun and therefore silhouetted. But you've also got these extra little occasional glints off leaves or branches where the sunlight is just falling through the trees and capturing the front of the trees as well. It's quite an interesting shot. About 180mm f16 1/60th of a second, and it just about works perfectly. So I'm going to head off and see if I can find something else as well now, but I quite like that image. I hope you enjoy it as well. This is the perfect scene behind me. You'll notice here there's a copse of trees, and quite a few of them are evergreen trees, but they sit kind of in a bit of a dip in the ground. So you've got this area here behind me which is all still frozen and in shadow, and then as you come around here the ground drops away and all of those trees are sitting in that little bit of a dip in the ground. It makes quite an interesting scene because, as I mentioned, these trees are evergreens, so what's happening is they are serving as an insulation for the ground beneath them. So the frost that's all around us here hasn't been able to penetrate the little dip that they are all sitting in because the trees have insulated the ground. Obviously I've got the sunlight behind them which is silhouetting all the trees, but also just at the very back of this little copse of trees, I don't know if you can see it just there, right where my finger is now, there's a much smaller tree right on the very edge at the back of that copse of trees, and it's just kind of sitting in the perfect spot where it's capturing the sunlight as the sunlight falls through the rest of the trees. But it's also still dark enough that it gives me a very interesting image, and I've shot that with a portrait orientation using the 50mm lens, 50mm f1.8. But I've turned the aperture around to f4 and shot that at 1/60th of a second because it just captures that light perfectly and I can focus perfectly on that one tree right at the very back. As I say, it's a portrait orientation image because these trees obviously are much taller than they are wide, and to get a decent shot of that one tree on its own with some of these other trees around it meant that I absolutely had to shoot a portrait. So I hope you enjoy that image. I'm going to go and see if I can find something else, and I think I'm probably looking for something fairly similar somewhere else in the park as well. But the way things are going, because the frost is melting very very quickly where the sun is hitting it, I've got to be looking for places where there's no sunshine, to be quite honest with you. So that's going to be a challenge for the rest of the day. I've been walking around for miles and miles, to be honest with you. Probably walked about 3 or 4 miles and not spotted any other compositions at all. I think the problem I'm having now is, now that the sun's getting up a little bit higher in the sky, what is happening is quite early on it's melting all of that frost wherever the sun hits the ground, and so I've got no frost at all, but also it's burning away any of that morning mist that I had earlier this morning. So realistically there's no chance of a shot now, because everywhere's got too much brightness, too much sunshine on it, and it's bright blue sky, and it's kind of overpowering everything. However, I do think the light on this bridge over this little brook is very, very interesting at the moment. And I was just passing the area and happened to look down from the path. I was walking along the path further up here, and happened to look down through the woodland from the path to walk past this area in the hope that there would be an image here, and I'm quite glad there is. So I'm going to set this one up and take this image as well, and then I'm going to move on and see if there is potentially anything left at all. So that's that image taken. I focus stacked it because I wanted the front and the back of the bridge to be both in fully sharp focus at the same time, but also I'm going to have to mess around in post-production with the highlights and shadows. If you have a look at this tree here, which is right next to the bridge itself, that's very, very bright, and then at the back of the bridge it goes very, very dark very quickly. So I'm going to have to lift the shadows up slightly to try and bring some of the detail back in the back of that bridge, but also reduce some of the highlights to lose some of the highlight detail, to retrieve some of the highlight detail, sorry, in the tree at the side of it. Either that, or I can try and crop the tree out completely, but if I do that, because it's very, very close to the bridge, I've got an awful lot of space to play with to achieve that. But it's a portrait orientation, f4, a 250th of a second, and like I say, that's focus stacked to make sure everything is in focus. I think that's probably going to be my last image of the day, to be quite honest with you. Looking at the way the light is now, I've got no real chance of capturing anything else unless I find something similar to this somewhere else. But I think where I'm walking, I don't think there's going to be anything. If I do find anything, I'll post that up here as well, so you'll be able to see that. But hopefully you like this image, and I'll look forward to seeing you again on another vlog very soon. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also please remember to share the video amongst your friends as well. And if you've got any comments to make, please make them in the comments box below, and I'll see you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.